Cole and Brennan were kind of just blimps on my radar. When me and Matt think about it, Matt was always my number one. Yeah, and people won't believe me, but it is what it is. But yeah, Matt was always my number one.
Sure, Jan.
Have you ever heard of the term abandonment melange? Basically, that's the toxic emotional mix of shame, grief, and terror at the thought of being left or abandoned.
I'm over here pouring my heart and soul to somebody and they are just not feeling it. Like, that sucks. Adios, amigo.
Adios. I can't see myself getting on a knee
With me.
with you.
Peace out, Cole. Peace out. Guys are attracted to me because they find a ballet dancer is super interesting, but then they're like, okay, I'm gonna go somewhere else.
And that toxic mix of feelings causes you to make choices that are actually bad for you.
I'm scared with the past, at least 2 now guys who have rejected me. I am scared that he's gonna reject me. I'm ready. I'm ready for that next step, Matt.
How does it sound that I'm getting down on one knee?
Come on. Come on.
Will you marry me?
Yes, I'll marry you.
Now, in the case of Colleen, she's had a history, by her own admission, that she's been left and abandoned by guys many times before. That they hook up with her for a couple of months, they're interested, then they just leave her. So there's this abandonment loop that she's living in. And that makes her ignore a lot of red flags. Number one being how insane Matt is.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna let Ian Vincent, who I've also lip-synced to before, tell Colleen a few words.
Do not act like you don't know when you do know, because you're convincing yourself that you can't be trusted. Trust what you know. You knew when you met Boo Boo. You know he was crazy as hell! You saw the crazy right round the edge. Don't excuse crazy. You just should have crossed the street. I told you that 23 years ago. When you see crazy coming, cross the street.
Hey guys, I'm in denial again. Basically, I'm in denial so you can wake up. I'm a drag therapist. I do lip sync videos, lip sync theater shows. It's all here on my channel with the theme, this umbrella theme of healing all the childhood wounds and all the crap so you can be better through comedy and through being a clown, basically. In layman terms, this abandonment melange can be described as that, you know, that feeling when you send a message to someone and they don't reply and you lose your fucking mind. You just want that answer. Yeah, you have a problem. honey bunny. I mentioned a little bit ago the abandonment loop. Basically, this is a loop that runs in Colleen's mind and the mind of many other people that, you know, someone's always going to leave us. We just have this belief that we're doomed to be left alone. And that fear, just the fear of being abandoned and the emptiness that comes with being abandoned makes you crap fit things. And crap fit, by the way, is a term coined by Anna Runkle, the crappy childhood fairy here on YouTube. And basically it's this idea that you just tell yourself things are better than they actually are. And you're like, oh, okay, let me just, you know, go along with this. And that need to crap fit makes you actually lose your ability to discern what's good and what isn't good for you. And we really see it in the case of Colleen, and both Colleen and Matt actually, when how they were constantly telling each other, oh, I love you, oh, you've helped me open up and become more vulnerable. It's like, did we miss, I don't know if we missed something in the edit but I never saw any sign of them helping each other open up. The only thing that happened between these two is how they fell in love is when they liked each other's voices. If you remember when Matt was like, oh, with your cute voice over there. And she's like, oh, with your Matthew McConaughey voice over there. Oh my God. Like, girl, that's liking someone's voice is not enough to get married. But obviously, because she felt abandoned by Brennan and Cole and probably brought up all her history of feeling abandoned, like she just rushed and tried to make it work. And another, by the way, example of her crap fitting is at the reunion when both of them were crap fitting, basically, Colleen and Matt, about why they don't live with each other. after having been married, they came up with this weird...
We weren't money-wise ready to give up on our leases. Like, we weren't there yet.
I guess I'm trying to understand that because normally when you combine one rent, that seems...
I was with roommates, so I would have screwed over some people.
The fuck is that? Is that a reason not to live with someone? I mean, yeah, I don't know. That was just, wow. Something very interesting with Colleen, I've seen many interviews of her with YouTubers and podcasters just talking about the show. And just her eyes are always like shifty, like she's hiding something. It's like, there's been a couple of interviews where clearly, even though they admittedly said they don't live with each other, but they're doing this interview from as if like they're living together. Like Matt's always in the background, like as if, oh, my cute hubby is here, like, getting ready for work. But you already told us that you don't live together, so what the fuck is this? And she clearly, every time she says something, she looks back.
Matt's asleep over there. I heard him go screwdriver. I hear him moving back there, so I'm like, what are you doing? You always have to be careful when you're dating someone on a guy, especially on a reality TV show. Like with women, I feel like it may be like a little bit different.
You can tell like Matt is somewhere there, like just, creepy. And another way that I feel Colleen copes with this abandonment melange and the fear that comes up, which by the way, abandonment melange is a term coined by the psychologist Pete Walker. So his stuff is amazing, check him out. But yeah, one of the coping things that I think she has, and a lot of people do when they feel abandoned, is they develop this nice personality, this nice accommodating personality. Just they don't want to disappoint anyone, they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but they always want to be agreeable. And that's Colleen down to a T.
I wish I had Raven's confidence in just being like, no, sorry, I'm not having it. Where I have a tendency to like placate other people's emotions, and I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable.
If you notice, like right before they got married, before they went to the altar, like the way she was talking with her friends, for me it seemed like clear that she was gonna tell him no. She and her friends were joking how Matt's not her type, and she just, everything she was saying and her like just energetically and the way she was behaving was like, okay, this girl is gonna say no, and she should have said no. And also by her own words at that dinner in the aquarium, when she was like, yeah, right now my answer is no. So I feel like, yeah, her instinct is telling her this is not going to work. Yet at the altar...
Maddie, I do.
Oh my God, that was so creepy. Maddie. Like she just wants to be a bride, or she wants to please everyone who came, or I don't know what, but she just has this, I'm a nice girl kind of thing.
Do not accommodate and tolerate what doesn't honor you. Do not think that because it's always happened, it has to continue to happen. Just because your mama did it and your daddy did it, don't mean you have to keep doing it. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to be sad and sorry. You don't have to take care of everybody just because you've always done it. Be willing to do a new thing and a new way. And sometimes you're going to have to piss people off in the process.
And eventually, Colleen is going to blow up. It hasn't happened yet, but somewhere down the line, she's going to either have a burnout, or she's going to have like a fit of rage or a panic attack or something, because this bottling up of all her feelings, no, that's not sustainable. Ironically, by the way, Matt also has this abandoned melange, because he told us like 17,000 times that he's been abandoned by his ex, and who got pregnant by cheating on him with a friend. And yeah, so he's telling us that he's been abandoned, and clearly, runs on this fear of being abandoned. But with him, it manifests itself a bit differently than Colleen. Like Colleen just develops this agreeable personality, where Matt has these rageful outbursts and just constantly wants to run.
When we're on two different pages.
No, please come here.
No, I'm out.
And speaking of his outbursts, for me, like he's gotten angry a few times, and if he's gotten angry that way with a camera crew around, I shudder to think what the fuck happens when there's no one filming, like where his rage goes. But for me, one of the scariest thing that Matt did, that dinner at the aquarium, where he didn't even yell, but he was just going, say it.
Stop playing games.
No, I'm not playing
Tell me how you
games.
feel.
I just...
Say it. Say it, say it, say it.
No, no, no.
Say it.
With Colleen and Matt, it's basically the blind leading the blind. I mean, her coping mechanism, she just rushes in to avoid feeling abandoned, and he just runs away and goes into fits of rage. I mean, from the outside looking in, people who behave like Colleen, who operate on this like kind of abandonment loop of thinking, oh my God, someone's always gonna leave me and abandon me and hurt me and neglect me. I mean, people like that, it looks like they're maybe recreating a childhood trauma of being abandoned. And that's bandied around a lot in psychology, like, oh, we're recreating our wounds. But nobody on a conscious level wants to be abandoned. Everybody wants to feel safe and secure and loved, right? But there is clearly a belief that you are going to be abandoned. You just are operating on this belief. And I think in order to heal that, you first have to look at what the real cause of the problem is. And that is basically the fact that it has happened before. Which brings us to Jessica.
Is it true that you still feel the same way you felt last night about me?
I don't know.
I mean, you know Jessica from the first season. Basically, she was dying to be with Barnett, and he didn't pick her. So she went for Mark, the safe choice, because she didn't want to be abandoned.
Like, it is totally cut off. I'm not seeing him anymore. Baby, I don't want to date anybody else.
She had some deep abandonment wounds, and she picked Mark. And you can tell already from the second she saw him at that engagement after they opened the doors, she was not having it. And I did some digging into Jessica's past, and basically her father and her parents were divorced, but her father remarried another woman. So this makes me think that, is there a history of having been left behind? And well, we can't, of course, there's no way to 100% prove that, but I think just judging by how Jessica's behavior, constantly like trying to cope and numb the pain with a lot of alcohol and just convince herself that she made the right choice by being with Mark, just to avoid that, terrible, horrific feeling of being abandoned. And for me, one of the most embarrassing clips of Jessica is when she was getting drunk and kind of like trying to make herself and us and Barnett believe that she's into Mark, and she was like, by the pool table. Oh God, cringe.
Love you the most.
Love you too.
Easy peasy. Hey, how's that rim job though?
And I think Ian Van Zandt has a few words for Jessica. Roll tape.
Don't just do pain management. Be willing to do the surgery. And the way that you do that surgery is tell the truth about what you feel. And stop pointing fingers and blaming about what people did and didn't do. My father wasn't there, and as a result, I feel like nobody will ever accept me as I am. That's why I sleep around. I just want a man to accept me because my father didn't. That's the truth. Tell it.
Another root of the problem is that sometimes some people's self-esteem is so wounded that they cannot even bring themselves to admit that they want to be with someone. There's so much shame at saying, yeah, I want to take you to the next step. And that's what happened with Shayna, Jessica number 2 from Love is Blind season 2. If you remember when Shane kind of dumped her to be with, what was her name? I'm gonna put her name here because I can't remember.
I just wanted you to know that I do have deep feelings for you. I do envision a life with you together.
It's just not happening now. The connection I have with Natalie is just so strong.
And it was clear after that basically Shayna's role in Shane's life is the cool girl, the sexy girl. Because every time he would just tell her, oh, how's my favorite girl with the crop top? And she was just playing along, oh, I'm a cool girl. And that's something, by the way, Anna Runkle from the Crappy Childhood Fair always says, like with the crap fitting. Like you just pretend, I'm a cool girl. I'll accept to be the side chick or the sexy girl and just act like you don't want commitment. And Shayna did this a lot. And Shayna later at the end of the season got engaged to this guy that she's trying to act like she's into him and brought him to this after the altar at this reunion, acting like she's in love with him. But we all know how Shayna is when she's in love with someone. She just loses her fucking mind. That fight that she had with Shane.
I feel like I'm being portrayed as a certain like villain in your guys' relationship, your guys' fucking fake ass relationship. No offense, because it is a fake ass relationship.
You think I was fake?
You and Natalie's relationship, I'm like, if you guys think you guys are compatible, that is comical.
When she's in love, when her feelings are at stake, when she's emotionally invested, Shayna loses her mind. So this relationship that she had with this other guy, where like, oh, they're kissing at this 80s party, girl, no. You're not into him. You're into Shane. Sidebar about Shayna, because also she's so afraid of being abandoned, so she picked Kyle, right? But I think Kyle was so cute. Like, I can't believe she was picking Shane over him. Kyle is like adorable. Like, come to me, honey. Come.
It sucks.
Never knew that goodbye meant I would be left behind.
And I want to say, well, not me. Iyanla wants to say a few words to Kyle.
Now, I remember my most difficult breakup. I remember the feeling of not being able to breathe, of not wanting to eat, of not wanting to get out of bed every day. And I also remember the day that I heard as clear as day, Iyanla, why would you give all of yourself to someone else and leave nothing for yourself?
I think in conclusion, it's good to point out that this feeling of intense abandonment, when it's running your life and your choices and distorting your perception, that's actually an injury to your brain and your heart. And in order to heal it, you have to give yourself constant pats on the back of the progress that you're making to heal. First of all, the first step is to become aware that this abandonment melange is guiding your choices in life. And it's really important to recognize, and this is to give yourself something to look forward to, is that when you finally heal this abandonment wound, your judgment and your ability to discern what's good and what isn't good for you will be healed, and you'll be able to make better choices for yourself. So thank you guys. Thank you once again. The last video also did well, and I'm loving all this encouragement. It means a lot. Like, it makes me think that I should keep doing more of this. And I've loved this stuff ever since I was a kid. I mean, I could analyze pop culture till I'm blue in the face. So it's nice to know that it's resonating and people are connecting with it. So yay. So thank you, and yeah, see you next week.
Oh, we live in a world where we expect something or someone outside of ourselves to make us happy. Remember, the only relationship that you can ever have is a reflection of the one you're having with yourself. So if you want somebody really good and wonderful in your life, start with you. Build that relationship, and let's see what happens.